Hello, I'm Deborah Malone, founder of The Internationalist and host of Internationalist Marketing TV. Today's guests are Oliver Eills, founder and CEO, and Patrick Williams, managing partner of AdVentures Americas. Oliver, Patrick, what a pleasure to see you both. I'm so excited to talk to you today. It's always wonderful to talk about breakthrough ideas. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Deborah. It's a great pleasure to be here. Great to connect with you again. I'm very proud to be here with AdVentures Americas.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Deborah. It's great to talk to you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I won't tell everyone about how we all go back quite a ways and across a number of countries and a number of continents. But before we get into any of that, I obviously we want to hear as much as we can about AdVentures Americas, but I'd like to talk first about the bigger picture. Let's just discuss this gap that you see in the US market in terms of connecting with new international markets. You both have very long experience in demonstrating how brands with international potential can be successful through smart marketing. So let's start there. Let's start with that gap.
Well, from my perspective, historically, brands and agencies in the USA have largely shied away from international media planning and buying in the US, preferring to decentralize, outsource to sister companies, networks, and third parties in Europe or Asia Pacific. And that chain of decentralization necessarily involves numerous partners, stakeholders. It lacks transparency and is inherently inefficient. And what we wanted to do at the outset is to support brands and agencies with local market expertise, and by giving them access to international media efficiently and effectively here in the USA.
Well, that's quite concise, and I know from just spending some time with you that you're actually doing a little bit more than that. Patrick is a veteran in this field. Do you want to comment a little further on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what Oliver was saying, just to sort of back that up, it is. I think people in the US, a lot of mid-sized and even larger companies in the US. This is a huge marketplace, and they can make an enormous amount of money in this market where everybody speaks the same language and there's no currency irritations or unpredictability. So I take my hat off to anybody who has a successful company here. What we're looking at is helping people who have taken advantage of the US market, but who realize that there's a lot more out there, but they don't necessarily want to employ a full service global agency with all the expenditure that's involved in that. With Oliver and myself, what we're getting there is, or the client is getting there, is getting efficiency of talking to people who've worked throughout the globe and lots of different markets, being able to recommend a media schedule, plan it, buy it, create events, execute events, tie those in with international media, so that they can really understand how their operation and their brand is being put forward in different markets in Europe and Asia. And it's a much simple process because they're talking to people who are actually executing the media.
That's interesting, and I do want to get back to that because I think both strategy and execution are so key to what you're offering. But one of the things I'd like to just keep focusing on for a minute is the idea of brand growth, and we see how important that is today to marketers. It's important to all companies, but I think that so many brands are looking for new niches. And I think that from what I hear from what you are saying is that you can help mentioned mid-sized companies, but I think there's a lot of companies out there, whether they're specialty B2B companies or expanding direct to consumer products, or even professional associations, universities, other schools, that are willing to experiment with reaching new markets, as well as many established global brands. It sounds like success comes from finding the right audiences and a good idea. Why is that a missing element in today's market, especially as we think about growth?
I think that's exactly right. What we're finding is that clients are looking for genuine audience engagement, physical engagement. Patrick mentioned events. So one element to what we've been doing is developing media activations oriented around content-driven events, whether they be in the UK or India, Singapore, or the US, where brands can engage with their target audiences, supported by pre and post media campaigns, which both drive awareness and engagement, enable data capture, and in themselves produce content for future campaigns. You know, these are truly holistic solutions, but it requires strategic thinking on our part. Really, what is the brand? What is the marketing director trying to achieve? Understanding the objectives and delivering that bespoke solution for the market and the audience in question.
I see what you mean by that, and that is quite a range. Let me just ask one more general question, then I'd like to dive in a little bit more about some of the things that AdVentures Americas is doing and initiating. You've been in this media marketplace for a long time. What do you see as some of the current challenges?
I think if we, I think there are a lot of challenges out there right now, and I think it's based around the fact that what is media? You know, I mean, media has become, 20, 30 years ago, media was, TV, broadcast and cable, press, newspapers and magazines, out of home. There were sort of fairly defined marketplaces. I think nowadays, media can be anything. Is it social media? Who are you reflected on by using those particular social medias? What are you saying about your brand? Is a college or a university a media owner? There are so many different forms of media owners, and what your brand is saying by associating yourselves with those particular areas. And also all newspapers and magazines, there's no more independence. There's no more providing both sides of the argument. Every media owner in the traditional sense now has a political agenda or some sort of reasoning behind their editorial. So, with our experience, what we're being able to do is hewn it down to a marketplace that the client or the CMO wants to be able to reach, fish out that particular audience and do it in a way where we're bringing their brand content to this audience, to the audience that they want to reach, and getting that audience to engage. It's more the rifle approach than the shotgun. And I think, there are too many shotgun approaches out there that confuse the message, from MFAs through to, large media owners. There's too much going on. So we can simplify that process for our clients and make sure that they are getting ROI.
Oliver, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think Patrick summarized it very well. That expansion of media, the market being even companies such as Best Buy, and we see what's happening in the retail media space. So you have a company like Best Buy that views itself as a media owner. There's a plethora of ways to reach audiences, and it's beholden upon us to really whittle down those opportunities and see what is the most efficient, what's the most effective way of reaching your target audience. And obviously that is very, very different whether you're talking about the US or India or Japan or China. And really what we're saying here at AdVentures Americas is that actually if you're trying to reach millennials in Tokyo, if you're trying to reach businesses in Germany, then speak to AdVentures Americas, because we actually have experience on the ground personally, whether it be in China or Dubai, across Europe and Latin America, and really bringing that global experience and resources here to the US market.
Well, it sounds like you've really founded the company to address some of the issues in media, and to also, I would say, provide expertise in underserved areas, as we started out by saying, in terms of some of the US attitudes toward expanding into some international markets directly from the US. Now, I'm sure you've been asked how you actually describe your organization, because I think, like many new concepts, it's a bit of a hybrid, and that's not a criticism. I think that's something quite interesting, and I think that we're seeing a lot more of that in new solutions. But certainly, you're not an ad agency. You're more than a media rep firm. And given, as we mentioned before, that you do both strategy and execution, you can't really call yourself a consultancy. Um, I don't know. Are you best characterized as a collaborator that provides access to new markets, and new media to help brands? Is
Yeah,
that accurate, or what would you say?
yeah, I think we're a partner for brands, for agencies, both large network agencies and independent agencies, to develop global media solutions. I would like to pick up on the reference to rep firms, and it sort of goes back historically, the 15, 20 years that we've known each other, Deborah. And you go back to that time when 15, 20 years ago, the international world was dominated by representative firms. And certainly the US market was only served by rep firms. Otherwise, that's decentralization that I discussed. The digital explosion that's taken place in the last 15 years has really, that model of representation is frankly obsolete. You know as well as I do, brands want to target audiences. Representing a specific media is simply not, it's inherently biased. And I have many years of international media representation, but what we're doing here is we don't represent media. We are not contractually obligated to any media in any part of the world. We want to develop the best solutions to deliver the right audiences for our clients, and that's a real fundamental change in how international media has been managed for many years.
I think it's more than a fundamental change. I mean, it's just it's an extraordinary shift, and I love the fact that you're using some of your experience and your knowledge to be able to move forward in that shift and come up still with an ethos where you're trying to help brands find their audiences. Um, We also started to talk a little bit about something that AdVentures Americas does, and that is you also aim to make solutions somewhat simple. And even though you say that, I realize that there is complexity in international markets and that many of your programs have multiple elements within them, whether it's the curated audiences that you've referred to, or it's local market research, or it's data and analysis, or you mentioned pre and post testing, as well as all of that general global knowledge. How do you balance that sense of ease and intricacy?
So, like, I just going back to your previous question, Deborah. I think definitely what Oliver said on collaboration and really partnership. We want to be media partners for clients and agencies and media companies themselves, media buying and planning teams. And one of those elements, obviously, is in a modern media world, is the programmatic solutions that companies have been coming up with for quite a number of years now. And we've been looking at that field. When we first came out of the gates almost a year ago, we didn't want to associate ourselves with any particular programmatic solution because we were very nervous about the duplication, some interesting reporting on how programmatic was being achieved, and the type of media owners that were getting involved in the game. Until we came across a company called Multilocal out of the UK. And they have been using a programmatic solution around the rest of the world, across APAC, EMEA, and Latin America. And they have not challenged or entered really the US system before now. So we are strongly recommending this to agency and client partners as a way to use as a programmatic solution, which with dynamic PMPs being a major part of the business, we're finding that we're getting great traction with a lot of clients on this, and it's a great way to go ahead. And in answer to the question that you just posed, I think how are we sort of rifle shooting, what is normally a sort of shotgun approach? I think the real answer to that is listening. Sitting with a client or an agency who has a particular pain point, and remembering that we have two ears and one mouth. So really trying to digest and understand what the client's pain point and what their KPIs are going forward with their campaign, so that we can listen and understand what those KPIs are, and not give a solution right there or then on that call or that meeting, but think about it and come back to them with a solution where we know that their KPIs are going to be achieved.
Well, listening is never a bad thing. But I do want to make one comment. Certainly at the Internationalist, we're founded on the fact that good ideas in marketing, advertising, media can come from anywhere. And I do think it's quite interesting that you are bringing multi-local in the programmatic area to the U.S. And I believe that you're even sharing some of that with some of the 4A's agencies. So kudos to you for offering some new ways to look at things. Let me go on just on just another more general topic, because I think that you're painting a wonderful picture of what you can do with AdVentures Americas. But on a broader level, is there something that you would like to see change in the industry to help US-based advertisers and their agencies experiment more with international markets?
We are that change, Deborah. Yeah, we are here to give brands and agencies in the US the education, the confidence, and the tools to plan and buy efficiently and effectively campaigns anywhere in the world, including the USA. And yeah, I agree with Patrick. It's about listening, and you mentioned simplicity, and you know, we just talked about the programmatic marketplace is a marketplace where the industry has allowed itself to become extremely complex, extremely opaque, and what we are doing at AdVentures Americas, and also with the audience curation solution developed by Multilocal, is to provide far more transparency in what we do, whether it be internationally or whether it be through the audience curation solution, which is inherently bringing far more transparency as well as performance and scalability to programmatic campaigns.
Well, it sounds to me like this is an extraordinary amount of solutions and thinking in a very short time. I can't even imagine what 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 you'll do if you keep continuing at this pace. But let me just ask you both, what's next? What's next for you and AdVentures Americas?
Well, I think really that that listening operation is going to continue, and that's going to be one of the strongest things that we do. And you know, while you say it's a short period of time, that you know we've been out of the gate for just less than a year, I think it's really been a culmination of both of our experiences while working in media across different continents, and really getting an understanding of what is going on out there, and making sure that you know, we have, now that we've launched this company, it's a culmination of lots of experiences. And while on one end of the spectrum, you know, we have a fantastic programmatic solution, you know, on the other, while we very much respect Clear Channel and JC.co for the amount of knowledge and expertise they have in the out of home, and we hope to work with them in time to come. We also are working with a company called Private Jet Media, who specialize in FBO advertising sites. And they have been a successful company in Europe and Asia. Again, with them, it's been about 25, 30 years, I think. And they are now coming to the US for the first time. So the fact that they are specializing just in FBO as out of home, I think is a real niche marketplace, and something that we won't be sort of trying to push every client into, but something when we know that we have a client who specializes in that audience, we can bring them something that no one else can bring them. So it's we're out of the gate for less than a year, but I feel like we've been in business for 20+ years.
Well, that's a wonderful way to feel. And for those of us who may not fly private, just let the audience know what an FBO is.
Oh, sorry, that's the fixed-based operation, which is what the aviation industry refers to as a private jet terminal.
All right. And Oliver, a final word on what you see as what's next.
Ensuring that our clients are happy and that we deliver. And I'm sure, as you understand, Deborah, and I'm sure many of your audience who are listening or watching, who have started their own businesses, the most important thing you can do is to deliver on your promise, and to ensure that you know that trust that a client has given you, that you not just meet expectations, but you exceed them.
Well, I think that is a wonderful place to stop for now. And I hope that we'll be talking with you quite regularly about not only other interesting innovations from the rest of the world that you're incorporating here, but also of your progress and where else you might be going. So thank you so much for being with us today and sharing some of that.
Deborah, thank you very much indeed for the time, and great to connect with you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Deborah. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you. The Internationalist focuses on the continual reinvention of marketing by highlighting inspirational marketers around the world and their ideas as they move the industry forward. Internationalist Marketing TV shares these perspectives through interviews and personal stories. Thanks so much for watching. If you find this kind of content helpful, please click like or subscribe. Again, thanks so much.